All righty. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending our Housing Vouchers What You Need to Know webinar. This webinar is brought to you from Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A, or Brooklyn A's, Preserving Affordable Housing Program in conjunction with Catholic Charities, Brooklyn and Queens. Thank you so much for being able to join us this evening. My name is Kendra Dunston. I am the Development External Affairs Coordinator here at BKA. And with me tonight is my colleague, Will Greenberg, our Development and Communications Coordinator. Brooklyn A believes all New Yorkers should have equal access to legal services to seek justice, make their voices heard, and overcome systemic racism and oppression. Established in 1968 as part of the War on Poverty, Brooklyn A believes attorneys have a critical role to play in combating poverty, inequity, and racism. Our civil legal services, organizing efforts, and educational resources assist our clients and their communities in defending and mobilizing against harassment, displacement, and gentrification, and asserting their rights. Tonight's program is brought to you from our Preserving Affordable Housing Program, or PAH, where they use legal and advocacy strategies to preserve and protect affordable housing, prevent evictions, combat tenant harassment and discrimination, and ensure that working families, individuals, older adults, and others live in stable environments and within their financial means. Our other two practice areas are the Consumer Economic Advocacy Program, or CEA. Here we handle tax issues, issues surrounding deed theft, predatory lending, foreclosure prevention. And additionally, under the CEA program, we have a domestic violence unit that offers assistance with orders of protection, child custody, and support, and more. Our Community Economic Development Program assists small business owners with commercial lease assistance for new and existing businesses, advice on laws and options. We help to negotiate rent and arrears, commercial tenant harassment, and nonprofit and corporation and startup services. Our co-presenter is Catholic Charities, Brooklyn and Queens, and their mission is to translate the gospel of Jesus Christ into action by affirming the dignity and value of every person, especially the most vulnerable members of our diverse society. Catholic Charities develops effective responses to human need and joins with all people of goodwill in advocating for a social order that promotes justice and embraces human development. Their services include case management, advocacy benefit entitlements, short-term financial assistance, relocation workshops, employment assistance, and tenant and landlord mediation, and so much more. We're so happy to be able to partner with them this evening. So to start off, I would like to thank our sponsors of this program tonight. Coming out of District 45 is Councilmember Farah Lewis, and out of District 36 is Councilmember Chiosei. Their unwavering commitment to the constituents of Brooklyn is unmatched. And lucky for us, here tonight with us is Councilmember Lewis. Councilmember, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Councilmember Farah Lewis, representing District 45. And I want to thank Brooklyn Legal Services Corp. A, Will, Kristie, Kendra, Eva, and Catholic Charities as well as co-sponsoring tonight, Councilmember Chiosei, for providing this resource for our community. We know that housing is essential, not only as a human right, but it's essential for our health, fulfilling a stable life. Vouchers are government subsidies that help New Yorkers find and get access to affordable homes to ensure that you have stability. And I want to thank Brooklyn Legal Services A for always providing space and creating a platform to educate our community on access to housing and advocacy, and knowing that you have a place to go if you ever need help. So I want to thank Brooklyn Legal Services Corp. A for creating this space tonight for our communities, and I will yield back to Will. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lewis. As always, we appreciate your support of BKA and the residents of Brooklyn. You're one of our staunchest allies. We look forward to partnering with you any chance we can get, and just truly thank you for all of your work.
Thank you, Kendra, and I should have yielded back to you.
You're
Thank
fine. You. All righty. Well, I would like to also present our presenters tonight, which are Kristie Ortiz, Director of the Preserving Affordable Housing Unit here at BKA, and Eva Biscette-Campbell, Supervisor 2 from Catholic Charities. They both have a wealth of knowledge, and it's wonderful to have two extremely knowledgeable individuals here to give us the facts and be available to take questions at the end. Tonight, we will be covering what is a housing vouchers, the different types of housing vouchers. Are you eligible? How to apply, renewals, rent increases, recent changes, and FAQs. And then we will have a Q&A session. We're just about ready to get started, but before we do, I want to let you know that we will have a Q&A at the end of the program. You will be able to type your questions in the Q&A box that you see on your screen, or once we open up the floor, you can use the hand raise button in your Zoom window to let us know you'd like to ask your question verbally. I will then unmute your mic. Please keep in mind, we will do our best to answer as many questions as we can during this live webinar. If we cannot get to all the questions, you will have contact information for both BKA and Catholic Charities that you will be able to reach out and get the answers you need. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kristie.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to start by answering the question of what is a housing voucher. So housing vouchers, otherwise known as housing subsidies, are government-funded programs to help families with low income in order for them to afford their housing. People that receive one of these vouchers must meet some requirements around income and work. Once the voucher has been issued, tenants typically pay a small percentage, 30 to 40% of rent. New York City residents have access to several different types of housing vouchers, and we'll talk about that today. Next slide. So some of the types of vouchers. One is Section 8. Section 8 is administered by a number of different agencies. So it's HPD, NYCHA, as well as HUD. And you could actually get project-based Section 8 based on your housing as well. Right now, there is currently a closed waitlist for HPD and HUD Section 8. So it was open during the pandemic, and unfortunately, that has been closed. You also have EHVs, which is emergency housing vouchers. Currently, those are closed as well. And then we have FEPS, City FEPS, which is a program that was administered by OTDA in the past and is actually now administered by the city. And so there's no wait, technically home based. And then City FEPS is no wait list. And then you have project-based vouchers, which is a lottery-based program where you apply through Housing Connect. And then HASA, which is for individuals who are dealing with needs. Next slide. So Section 8, as I discussed, is commonly known as, of course, Section 8. The HCV receives federal funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. In New York City, the housing choice vouchers are administered by NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority, HPD, which is New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development, and from DHCR, which is New York State Division of Housing and Community Renewal, as well as there are programs that are administered by HUD. Next slide. So the general waitlist for HCV has been closed since 2009. Eligibility is dependent on income and household sizes. Families pay no more than 40% of their adjusted monthly income toward rent. The voucher administered through NYCHA, HPD, or DHCR actually pays the rest of the rent. So participants recertify for the voucher annually and must accommodate housing quality standard inspections to ensure safety of space. What that means is that when you actually find an apartment, it has to be inspected to ensure that there are no open violations. If there are, you would have to, or the landlord would have to certify for those violations in order for you to be allowed to remain in that apartment. Next. So EHVs, which is emergency housing vouchers, or limited Section 8 vouchers, are administered by the same three agencies, NYCHA, HPD, and DHCR. And it is meant for families, individuals who are actively homeless or at risk for homelessness, fleeing domestic violence, or recently homeless, and at high risk for housing stability, generally meaning you had an eviction. Next slide. So I'm gonna pass over to Eva, I believe, to continue to discuss city steps. Eva,
Oh.
you're muted.
Yeah, this is FAPS. So basically, with FAPS, the eligibility criteria is different for both subsidies. But with FAPS, in order to be eligible, there need to be children under the age of 18 in the household. The family needs to be eligible for public assistance cash benefits. And if the child is 18 and in high school, or 19, up to age 19 in a vocational training program, the family can still get FAPS up till that age. Once the child ages out, they no longer meet the eligibility criteria. Now, in order to the other thing, like if the client is in housing court and they need to apply, the housing court eligibility needs to be within the last 12 months. Once it's over 12 months, they no longer meet the eligibility criteria for the subsidy. Right? You can move to the next slide. Okay, so there's FAPS A and FAPS B. I just spoke to you about FAPS. Also for FAPS A, what we do at home base is basically FAPS in the community, meaning that you reside in the community, and that's when we assess. If, like I said, 12 months, housing court, if there's a vacate order, that works. Public assistance. There can be someone with FAPS. It's based on if there's anyone with income in the household. The FAPS shopping letter would only be for the people eligible for public assistance cash benefits. Yes. Question is, if there's someone is undocumented, then if the child is born in the US, or there's a US citizen in the household, yes, they will still get FAPS, provided that they meet the other eligibility criteria. You can move to the next slide. Okay, FAPS B. With FAPS B, it's only the families who were going through domestic violence and they don't meet the other eligibility criteria. The family would be that would be referred to go to Family Justice Center, who in turn will assess them to see if they're eligible for the subsidy. Right now, they only provide 1,000 vouchers a year and it's across New York City. If the 1,000 vouchers is over, they won't be providing any additional vouchers for the year. So if it's over, then you won't get the subsidy if it's over 1,000. We'll move to the next slide. Okay. Now, there are two, with FAPS, there's FAPS to move and there's FAPS to stay. If it's FAPS to stay in the household, the family needs to go to HRA, the Public Assistance Center. They're the ones who complete the FAPS to stay application. What the family, and they will pay up to $20,000. If it's over $20,000, you need to provide proof as to why your arrest is over $20,000 in order for them to pay that money. So in order to apply for FAPS to stay, you would have to apply for a one-shot deal or special grant. Once they call you for the interview, then you would let them know that you want to apply for FAPS to stay. But just remember, the cash assistance, children under 18. If you don't have children under 18, if you're not eligible for cash, you won't get FAPS. Next slide. Okay, that was mine anyway. So, city FAPS. With home base, we are eligible. We actually do everything for FAPS, FAPS to stay, FAPS to move. City FAPS to stay, city FAPS to move. With FAPS, we're only responsible for FAPS to move. Now, with city FAPS, the eligibility criteria is a little different. That means that If there's a veteran in the household, it doesn't have to be the head of household. If there's a veteran in the household, it trumps everything else. If the family was in the shelter, they received a Pathway Homes referral. As long as it's less than 12 months, once they have secured an apartment, they can transition, it can be converted into city FAPs. If the household was referred by PAP or HRA and HPO, they receive a city FAPs referral. However, you still need to be assessed. Even if you receive a referral, you still have to be assessed, because the referral just basically states that you're potentially eligible. It doesn't mean that you're eligible. You would have to meet the income guideline, which is 200% of the poverty guideline based on your family composition. If you receive public assistance, your case would have to be open. If we're doing, let's start with FEPS to move. If we're doing FEPS to move, you would need to be in housing court facing eviction within the last 12 months, or receiving services from APS, or have shelter, HRA or DHS shelter history. If you don't have any of these, just remember you're not eligible for city FAPs. If it's city FAPs to stay, HRA has decided that housing court has been waived up till December 2024. That's the year we're in, right? So with that being said, if you are staying in the current apartment and you're not in housing court and you meet the eligibility criteria, or let's just say you have a rent control apartment you're trying to stabilize, that works. You would have to meet the income, like I said, the same criteria. What's it? Shelter history, HRA or DHS. Because to stay HRA, DHS, you would need a letter from the landlord to say that he wants his arrest or he's going to take you to court. Next slide. Okay. Where if you have FAPs, you can only use FAPs within the 5 boroughs of New York. If you have city FAPs, you can now move within New York State with the subsidy. However, the rental guideline changes based on the borough or county you will be moving in. If you're moving outside of New York City, the rent guideline is based on the county you're moving into, so it changes. But you can now move within New York State only with city FAPs. And every year, if you have the subsidy for city FAPs, every year you have to complete a renewal. If you don't complete the renewal, the subsidy will fall off the budget and you will no longer have the subsidy and you will be responsible for paying the entire rent. Just remember, complete the renewal every year. Is that a question? Exception to the rule for household members that are 60 or older. They still need, if there's a household, elderly, being an elderly don't make you eligible for the subsidy. You still need to meet the eligibility criteria regardless of the age, regardless of the income. The income needs to be, like I said, under 200%, but elderly is not eligible because they are disabled. Next. Oh, okay. I did speak about statewide. If you find an apartment outside of the 5 boroughs within New York State, like I said, you can move. There's a calculator which is used to calculate the rent guideline based on the county. In addition to that, there is a maximum rent that's listed, and the maximum rent is based on the landlord, if the landlord is responsible for all the utilities. If the landlord is not responsible for all the utilities, or if you're that will be utility amount will be calculated from the maximum rent. So based on that, you will know how much the landlord is eligible to charge. Okay. Now, if someone is not employed, their only source of income is public assistance, the subsidy will pay a certain amount, and shelter allowance will pay the difference. If you are employed, you will be responsible for 40% of your monthly rent towards your rent. The 40% will be deducted from the maximum that CityFEPS will pay, and that's what the difference will be. If you're okay, so if someone is moving out of the 5 boroughs within New York State, we don't have to do a walkthrough. We don't have to inspect that apartment. No, actually, no, we don't have to do a pre-clearance. Therefore, we don't have to wait on DHS or the city to let us know there are no violations and to move forward. All we need to do is a walkthrough to make sure the apartment is safe and secure for your family. Once that's done, then we put the application together and we have to wait for HRA to make a determination on the approval. You can move to the next slide. Okay. So CityFEPS renewal have to be done every year. You will receive notification in the mail to let you know when your CityFEPS renewal is due, right? Once you receive your new renewal, as of December, HRA is asking that you submit the renewal through Access HRA. Once you do that, you'll be able to see the status of your renewal. If the rent is being paid to the landlord, you'll be able to see when the rent was paid out to the landlord. Now, when you receive your renewal, you need to make sure that your pay stubs are up to date at least 30 days or less. If you're getting paid bi-weekly, you need 2 pay stubs. If you're getting paid weekly, you need 4 pay stubs. And the good thing is with the renewal for CityFEPS, the income is 80% of the AMI, which is a little higher than the 200% of the poverty guideline. So just make sure you have the income. If you have SSI, if you have unearned income, let me look at it that way. Unearned income, SSI, unemployment, workman's comp, just make sure it's up to date when you complete the application. If for some reason you're not technology savvy or you're not able to use Access HRA, 109 is 16th Street, there are machines there where you can now go in and upload your renewals. I'll move to you, the next slide. Okay, let's see this. So I know Kristie spoke about HASA, which is for HIV/AIDS clients. For anyone who wants to apply for HASA, they need to go in and apply, and they will assess them, let them know if they're eligible. Now, the thing about HASA is we also know that sometimes you have rental arrears, you need to apply for a one-shot deal. You're not able to do that at a regular center. You would have to go to the HASA center to do anything. Anything that has to do with your case, you have to make sure that you go to a HASA center because you cannot do it at a regular public assistance center, right? For the project-based vouchers, these are the ones that you're able to, they're public. You can apply online. You can Access HRA, not Access HRA. What's the other one? Housing Connect. That's an example. You can move to the news slide. Okay. State and development. I think I spoke about that, right? So if you need to stay in your apartment, you need to apply for FEPS. Just remember, some people tend to say that I want CityFEPS. That's not how it works. We need to first assess for FEPS first. If you're not eligible for FEPS, then we can assess for city FAPs, right? Again, FAPs to stay in your apartment, apply for the one-shot deal, rental rest, interview. Once they call you for the interview, let them know that you want to apply for FAPs to stay. And make sure you do it at the center. If the center send you back to home base, try to get the name of the person you spoke to and let the home base office know. That's the only way we can follow up and make sure that they complete the application for you. And if you want to move into a new apartment, you need to be in housing court facing eviction. Or, like I said, domestic violence, family justice center. And move to the next slide. Okay. How to avoid pitfalls. Okay. So before you go to home base, make sure you have all your documents. Provide the lease, your lease, proof of income, proof of benefits, like if you have rental arrears, proof of that, like how your proof of your housing risk. If you want to just remember, everyone wants to say, I want a subsidy. Like I said, we still have to assess, we still have to assess you based on the eligibility criteria for both subsidies. If you do meet it, then we will process the paperwork, but we want to make sure that you have everything ready. Okay. And HRA is the one, they're the ones approving these applications. Sometimes they get done like in 2-3 days now that they have the new system, which is called Current, but there are times it takes 2-3 weeks. So you just have to be patient. You can move to the next slide. Okay. So if anyone has a subsidy, whether it's FAPs or city FAPs, and they need to move from one apartment to another, you cannot do it on your own. If you do that, it will be an illegal move and you will lose your subsidy. If you need to move for any reason, it needs to be valid, and we have to submit what's called a good cause transfer on your behalf. There are different reasons why someone can get a good cause transfer. It can be health and safety, it can be domestic violence, like order protection, vacate orders. If the landlord is saying that he no longer wants you in his apartment, he would have to provide you with a letter to say that he no longer wants you in his apartment. If you're in housing court, say for holdover, we can do that. If you're in housing court for non-payment, that's not a reason for a good cause transfer. It would have to be a holdover. And another reason is if you were selected for Housing Connect apartment and it's at the rent guideline for the subsidy, you can also get a good cause transfer. You can move to the next slide. Okay. So if you're requesting a transfer, we need supporting documents. Part of the supporting documents, I just said 2 things. If a landlord is saying that he doesn't want to renew your lease, he would have to provide you with a letter. If you were selected for a housing in the next apartment, then you would have to show us the proof. You would have to provide the proof that you were selected for a housing connect apartment. If for some reason, if you're in housing court, you would have to provide the court stipulations. If it's health and safety, see, you're saying that you have an infestation of rodents, or that say you're still in this, like there are repairs in the home that the landlord is not fixing, or if you have an order of protection, like if there's domestic violence and you have an order of protection, we need the supporting documents to submit to HRA. for the Google transfer because they have to approve it. It can be denied or approved. If a good cost transfer is approved, then you'll be issued what's called a shopping letter. The shopping letter is valid for 1 year. What that means is it's going to tell you how much you're eligible for based on your family composition, and that you can use that shopping letter to search for an apartment. All you need to do is give it to the broker or the potential landlord, to let them know that you're potentially eligible and how much you're eligible for. So what the letter has is the number of bedrooms and the total rent. Move forward. Next slide. Okay, so that goes to the renewals. If your landlord is saying that he needs an increase, then the landlord has to basically he needs to complete what's called the landlord utility form. He needs to get you to sign a new lease, and he has to also send a letter, and that would have to go to a rent increase, the rent increase at hra.nyc.gov email address. If they don't do that, then they will not get the increase, and they still have to wait on HRA to process the rent increase. If for some reason, like say if the landlord did it like 2-3 months ago and nothing is going on, then you would have to go to your nearest home base, and then we can follow up. But the landlord needs to do that. If he doesn't do that, then no rent increase. Next slide. Okay, so I think that's me. So there is the 90-day rule for New York City shelters. Previously I did work in the shelter where there was this 90-day rule. You had to wait 90 days in order to receive a subsidy in the shelter. The 90-day rule is no longer in effect. You no longer have to wait 90 days in the shelter system in order to be eligible for housing subsidy. And that's as of July 2023, right? The rent guideline did increase as of January 1st, 2024. I need to remember what year we are in. So the rent was increased for both FEPs and city FEPs. Now, I just know one at the top of my head. If you're eligible, say you're eligible for 1 bedroom, it is now $26.96. So both subsidies have increased. Okay, you can move to the next slide. Okay. So so basically home-based programs. Each home-based program covers a specific zip code, right? If you need to know what home-based program you need to go to based on your zip code, you can go to 311, or you can also look online on the city FABs. Home base. On the home base, you can do a search for home base, and then you can put in your zip code, and you will find what home base you need to go to. Like with me, I work at home base we're called CNSU. It's Catholic Charities. It's New York. We only cover 11207, 208, and 239. So other home-based programs cover different zip codes. With Queens, it's only one program in Queens, which is Catholic Charities, the Queens office. If you live in different boroughs, you can search, find out what home base you need to go to. But you cannot go to any home base, because I've heard people call our office and come in and say that they call their home base office and that no one is picking up, so they come to us. No, you need to go to your local home base. You cannot go to any office that you want to go to because someone is answering the phone or the door is open. Okay. Now, if you, just so you know, Like, if you receive a shopping letter, let's say you can find a broker. The broker's fee will be paid once the application is approved. If a broker asks you to pay them, please do not pay them. Now, for city FABs, the broker's fee is 15% of the annual rent. For FABs, it's only 50% of the monthly rent. That's the difference. And some brokers don't want it, and they want you to pay the difference. Please don't do that. We can go to the next slide. Well, okay, so that's the end. If you have any questions now, feel free, I
Yes.
will answer. If I don't have an answer right now, I will follow up, and I can always get back to anyone who asks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eva and Kristie, for presenting this information tonight. We do have quite a few questions and we have some hand raises. I do want to remind everyone, you can type your questions into the chat box or use the hand raise feature. We're going to answer as many questions as we can. And if we cannot get to all the questions, we will have contact information where you can email your questions directly. And also, I do want to let you know that this recording will be emailed to all of you that have attended this evening. So we are going to start from the office of Senator Prasad. And his question is, I understand that given the current climate, some home bases might be busier than others. However, there has been a few instances where it's been difficult for constituents who tried to reach their home base via phone call to no avail. Some constituents also report that their preliminary appointment screening date is scheduled over a month away from when the constituent placed the call. Is the appointment time frame being addressed?
Okay, so basically, there have been an increase with people coming to home base for services. So because of COVID, like prior to COVID, people were coming to the office, intakes were being done immediately. Now, post-COVID, with so many intakes coming in, the intake workers are scheduling the intakes. However, let's just say someone has they found an apartment, they secured an apartment, they have a lease, or a intend to rent. The intake will their intake will take priority because we don't want the client losing the apartment. We want to stabilize housing.
Okay, Alex, I hope that answered your question. I would like to unmute Tiana Rawlings. You have been so patient. So you are unmuted. Let's see. Are you there, Tiana? All right. Tiana, are you still there? Okay. If you are, drop it in a chat and I'll unmute you again. Sergi asked, my health insurance worker is not helping me. Where else can I go regarding a voucher?
Repeat the question.
He says that his health insurance worker or health insurance caseworker maybe is not helping him. Is there any place he can go regarding a voucher?
Health insurance?
Yeah.
He can go to his nearest home base to be assessed.
Okay.
Providing
and
that he's not in the shelter.
providing that he's not in the shelter. Thank you. Sergi asks, he is a political asylum seeker. He came from Russia and lives in New York in a migrate shelter. I would like to understand how to get a certificate for renting or housing.
He's in a migrant shelter. He has to get services from the migrant shelter. I don't know how they work, but anyone who's in the shelter cannot get services from home base. It's one or the other. Either you get services from home base or you get some, if you're in the shelter, you have to get services from the shelter.
Okay. And Danielle asked, does veterans get priority for city FEPs?
If you're a veteran, like I said, it trumps everything else. So you don't need to meet the other eligibility criteria as long as you're a veteran and you have proof to show your veteran status.
Thank you. We have some more hand raises. Humugado, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I've been in the shelter since June of last year. I was recently found eligible back in November. We applied for the voucher and still like I have not received any update. They haven't asked for like an income update, nothing. And I don't know what to do at this point because I was told if you're in the shelter, like you can't go to home base. If that is
Yeah, if you're in the shelter, you're gonna go to home base. The only time you'll need the updated income is if you secure an apartment. Have you secured an apartment?
I found an apartment and I actually reached out to the commissioner at DHS letting him know that I found an apartment and I still have not received my voucher. And that was back in January, 3 months after I applied. 2 months after I applied and still there was no update. They submitted like an inquiry asking for an update as to why I don't have the voucher and there's still no update from them.
So you probably need to speak to the program director or housing specialist. They should be able to get a voucher for you.
No, they don't. Is there like anyone else I
No,
can
because
speak to?
that's why previously the vouchers were generated in CARES automatically. So
Yeah.
that's something you could ask them to look into.
I'm asking, yeah, I've asked them to do all of this and it seems like they're not doing it. That's why I'm asking, is there somebody else I can reach out to?
Like you
Yes.
said, client advocacy, THS.
Eva, I
Yes.
don't know who the constituent is, but could you have them send their information over to us so that we could assist them?
Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Can I get the
Humo-
contact information? Thank you.
Absolutely. After this, there's going to be a slide with our email. You can just email that info@bka.org. But it'll be up there and I will be emailing you after probably tomorrow with this recording. So you'll be able to have contact information and we'll get it over to the council member.
Thank you.
I'll put the emails for both us and Catholic Charities into the chat right now, everyone. So you can
Thank
see
you.
Thank you.
Baby.
All righty. Let's see. Tiana, are you still there? No.
Hi, Ty, welcome. I hope you can answer some questions too.
There you go. Octavia Napier, do you have a question?
Yes, my question is, do you help us get vouchers or how do we apply to get vouchers?
So basically, like I said, you have to be assessed. So it's not like you get a voucher automatically. Once you come in, we have to assess you based on the eligibility criteria. If you do meet the eligibility criteria when you're assessed, then we would have to put a package together once you secure an apartment, or if you're staying. It all depends.
And
You
what
would
are the
have to-
eligibility requirements
So
that I have to meet
what subsidy? Day two.
for city fab?
Okay, for city fabs, are you planning to move or to stay in your current apartment?
Well, I stay with somebody and I'm planning to move. Like I rent a room.
So if you rent a room, are you planning on, or you live with someone? So then if you live with someone, it doesn't make you like eligible. Like being in an apartment, like living in someone's apartment doesn't like make you
Like,
eligible.
but I'm renting a room from
You renting
somebody.
a room from the person. Yeah,
Yes.
but if you need to move, like I said, you need to be in housing court facing eviction within the last 12 months.
Okay, so I can't just go to home base and
Correct.
speak to them about my situation.
Like I said, with moving, housing court, like you need to be facing eviction. And you have to be in housing court, and it has to be within the last 12 months.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what if I had like a letter of documentation and home base still denied me of services?
Home base will not deny you of services. Like being eligible for a subsidy and home-based services are two different things. You can be eligible for home-based services and not meet the eligibility criteria for the subsidy.
Okay.
Thank you, Octavia. And if you have any more specific questions, we will have the contact information to reach out to us. We do have a question from Sandra Guzman in the chat that applied for FEPS in August last year. My family are in HRA public assistance, and my son is 17 years old. He turned 18 in May. I'm still waiting for a response. The landlord stopped the process with the court last year, but he will start again because FEPS did not give any response from my application. What can I do?
Is the child still in high school or vocational training?
Sandra, I guess we need more information. If he's still in school or vocational training, then there might be different answers depending on the situation. I would definitely recommend to reach out to our contact information and find a more detailed answer for your question.
Yeah, because the thing is, okay, I'll explain. So if a child is not in high school, not in vocational training, 18 over, and that's the only child in the household, FEPS is gonna stop. The only thing we can do is like it can be converted. If it's converted, they need to meet the eligibility criteria for city FEPS, which is DHS shelter history.
Okay.
DHS or HRA shelter history, or someone in the but it's someone in the household. It doesn't have to be the head of household or APS receiving APS services.
Thank you, Eva. We have Charles who has his hand up. Charles, are you there? Charles?
Yes, you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, how you doing, y'all? Yes,
Awesome.
I'm gonna ask some question because I have my Section 8, but I need help as far as deposit, 1 month's deposit and security and broker's fee for the moving process.
How did you get Section 8?
Housing.
So then you would have to go to HRA. To
Oh, that's the
apply
only
for,
process?
if you would have to go to HRA and apply for the security voucher, first month's rent, security, the first month's rent, security, broker's fee. You have to go to HRA to apply.
Because a lot of people saying go to home base or Catholic Charities will help you too.
No, the only way we can submit a request to HRA is if you were with a home-based program and you receive Section 8 through the EHV or HCR. But other than that, if you receive Section 8 on your own, then you would have to go to the center to apply for services.
Oh, so Catholic Charities don't help you.
No. Correct.
Okay. And another question.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying that if you work and you pay Section 8 pays 70%, how much do you pay? How much percentage do you pay?
If you have income, do you have income?
Yeah.
So then you would pay 30% of your monthly income towards the rent.
Okay, but how come 1 minute somebody say 40%, somebody say 50%?
It all depends. Like there is the 40%, but it's normally 50% of the monthly rent is what you pay towards the rent.
But no more than 40.
No, it also depends on the type of housing. So
It depends. It depends on the rent.
What do you mean? What do you mean? If it's a condo or something, if it's like a project building, what kind of building? A house? What is different kinds of?
Yeah, so there's numerous different types of housing in New York City.
Yeah, it's a
So
lot
if
of
it's
different
like
houses, so you don't know which one is get that
if it's
special
a tax
benefits.
credit, yeah, if it's a tax credit building, generally you pay 30% or the most, like they have like an equation that they work on.
So
It really
how would
depends
you
on
know which building to pick? Which Was this rent stabilized? Like, no more
If
than
it's rent
30%?
stabilized, then it's 30%. So that's always the case. If it's an HDFC or a tax credit building, then that's when the amount changes.
40%.
Correct.
Oh,
Or
okay.
even some other percentage. Yeah, it's dependent
But how
on
can you
income.
find out? But how can you find out which building is which?
So if it's rent stabilized, you could actually do a search on the DHCR website. And
All the
generally,
DHA.
yeah. So it's
Oh,
6 or more
can you give me
units and
the
they'll,
website?
yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. We do have another question in the chat from Edwidge. And they are asking, let's say you applied to home base and you wait longer than 4 weeks and never got a call or feedback. What should be the next steps? Oh, you're muted, Eva.
Miss Ron, do you want to help me with that? Where's Tot? She's not there. Okay.
I'm here. I'm
Hello.
here.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, let's say you apply to home base and you wait longer than 4 weeks and you never get a call or feedback. What should the person do next?
They should either go to home based, walk in and request to speak with a supervisor, or they can also call too and just ask to speak with the supervisor and explain the situation. And then supervisor and assistant director will call the client back. We can look into the system to see what is going on so we can follow up with the case manager who is assigned to the worker to give them a call back.
Thank you. We do have several questions about the time frame on waiting for a callback. So I guess that's really, really good information for a lot of people right now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's go to Keith. Keith, are you on with us?
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Keith. Thank you for your patience. You can have the floor.
Okay, so it's basically a simple question. So, well, I'll just explain my situation. So, so um from last summer, no, yeah, from last summer, I was trying to apply for rental assistance, and I was told that rental assistance doesn't exist no more. I think they said it's called cash assistance now, I guess. And I wasn't sure how the process go, but I wanted to know if you were evicted, right, and you have cash assistance and couldn't pay your rent, how do you apply for the voucher?
So if you want to apply for the subsidy, you have to go to, and you live in the community, you have to go to your local home base, and then you will be assessed.
Oh wow, so yeah, they didn't tell me all of that. I was just running around going to the HRA office, and they were
But you
telling
can,
me I'll have to apply for there from there, and I did that all summer and didn't get no response from nobody. But it was too late though because they already evicted me. But
so are you living with someone? How long ago were you evicted?
actually um they recently just like they gave me the letter and they said that I had till March 31st. I left already. I had to get a room. So
Okay.
yeah, that's where I'm staying now. I'm staying in a shared room in Far Rockaway. But I was also, like I said, I was also asking questions from HRA. Nobody helped me. I didn't get no response. Every time I went to the office, it was like no one knew anything. So um then I also try to apply towards Catholic Charities too, but I got a later response um about getting my rent paid once I lost my job. But I just wanted to know. That's all. I just
Yeah.
wanted to know like how the process was and how does it go and how long it takes, you know.
So you just need to go to your local home base, and they will assess you. I think you say you live in Queens. The only home based program in Queens is Catholic Charities. I think it's on Jamaica Avenue. I think there's Jamaica and Rockaway. I don't know if they do in person, but you can probably call to schedule an intake.
Oh, you said there's one in Far Rockaway?
Yes, but I
Yes,
don't know the
there's one
exact
on Far
location, but there's
Walkaway,
one in Far Rockaway.
located on Mott Avenue.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. I actually live around there right now. Okay, so I'll definitely go there. I'll definitely go there during this weekend. But
Awesome.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Keith. We appreciate your
No problem.
question. Now we only have a few more minutes left, so we're going to try to answer 2 more questions. And again, you will have contact information. Please, we encourage you to email us to get your questions answered. I am going to ask Michelle Bennett's question. Let's say someone is a DV survivor and has an order of protection and was in a DV shelter, also tier 2 shelter, and the HRA doesn't have the order of protection on file. What should they do?
She said she has an order of protection.
Mm.
So then, and she wants a subsidy, and she's a DV victim, but when she left the shelter, the DV shelter, did she get a subsidy? Because if you're placed in the DV shelter, they also assist with subsidies. So you can transition from a DV shelter into permanent housing. If you did not receive one and you are in the community, then you would have to go to Family Justice Center to be assessed.
Thank you.
I don't know how to retrieve the order of protection. That I don't know.
Thank you. And we're going to take the last question from Stanislav. Orel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, thank you for your patience.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you very much for so interesting topic and Zoom, and where we can discuss our problems with rent and home. I would like to ask you, we are family without children who came to the US last year from Russia. We are currently in pending asylum seeker status. We receive from Human Resource Administration cash assistance and a little bit money for our rent. But our rent $1,500 a month. We received only $250 as a rent assistance, and we couldn't apply for a work permit and social security number when we came. We have to wait for half a year, and finally the previous year we received a work permit and social security number, but we ran out of our money a few months ago. We lended some money from our friends, and we need assistance with rental payments, because I don't know when I will find a job. Maybe it will be in this month, maybe it takes more, a few months, I don't know. So I visited some places, Human Resource Administrations. I received a list rental assistance agencies. I visited them as well. I visited Human Resource Administration on 109 East 16th Street as well. I did some calls, but I failed to apply for city HEPS, and I don't know, does city HEPS work for me? If yes, how can I apply it successfully? If not, which program can help me? Thank you very much.
So like I said, you have to go to your local home base, and they will assess you to see if you meet the eligibility criteria for the subsidy. What's your zip code?
100,461. It's Bronx.
Is it the Bronx? Okay, so you can go online, and then you can do a search, put in your zip code, and it's going to tell you where you need to go to your local home base, because I don't know the home base programs in the Bronx, so I won't be able to direct you to let you know what home base program to go to.
I visited them already.
You did?
Yes,
Okay.
they wrote down my telephone number and the name, and that's all. And they never called me back after that.
Okay. So I don't know what the intake schedule is like. I don't know like how they do it. So maybe you can call back and let them know that you called, or maybe walk into the office and speak to someone.
I see. I've got it.
Okay?
Awesome. Thank you, Stanislav. I would like to turn it over to Will.
Oh, just briefly, just wanted to say, yeah, that folks, we do have to start wrapping up, but I just want to reiterate, as Kendra said, we have a lot of questions. We had a lot of people join tonight. We really appreciate you, taking the time. A lot of specific situations people have questions about. Definitely encourage you to reach out to Brooklyn A, to Catholic Charities for your specific situations. That would be the best way for us to help you there. We can answer, I think, some of the more general questions that are still in the chat. I know we haven't gotten a chance to get to everybody, but like I said in the chat, the contact info is there. We will follow up with everyone who's, the email you registered with Zoom. We will email you that to that email with the recording of tonight and the contact info, and maybe a couple more answers to a couple of the more general questions we didn't get to tonight. But again, for specific situations, please do reach out individually. Just want to throw that in. Go ahead, Kendra.
Yes. No, I just wanted to thank everyone. And again, I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of your questions, but Will, if you don't mind throwing up our contact information, that last slide. Eva, Kristie, Ty, is there any last words you would like to say? Nope. All righty. Well, thank you, Kristie, Eva, and Ty, for your knowledge and your expertise and sharing it with us this evening. We will be posting this video on our YouTube page, and I will be sending all of the people who have joined a link to that video there. Thank you, and please contact us if you need anything. Have a great evening.